You certainly clouded the mind of that judge, Scully.
Even if Modell could, he didn't need to. We barely had a case against him.
Oh, we had enough to get past a simple preliminary hearing. Modell psyched the guy out. He put the whammy on him.
Please explain to me the scientific nature of the whammy.
Hello and welcome to Most Unwanted and X-Files podcast. We are finally back.
Yeah, I'm surprised we remember how to do this, to be honest.
It's been a while. This has been a longer break since even between seasons.
I think so, yeah, because we usually record a bit closer, don't we? There's 2 seasons and that.
It's been a bit of a strange one. Oh, I'm Chex. Oh God, I forgot to do it.
We did forget, yeah.
I'm Chex, and the other voice you can hear is Luke.
Hey guys.
As usual. Yeah. It's been a
like that.
Things have changed.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, I got married.
Yeah, the new Mrs. Checkley.
Mrs. Checkley's my father's name.
Yeah.
I've used that joke so many times.
I've got to credit to you and Jem for that one. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow. It was a bloody good wedding, wasn't it?
It was a very good wedding.
Yeah. I think that the highlight, obviously the highlight was marrying my wife.
But the real highlight
was the best man speech, which was phenomenal.
Yeah. Less a speech, to be fair.
Less a speech. Well, I'll let you describe exactly what you did.
It's been a roller coaster for us, because 6 weeks ago, me and Tash famous for the segment,
the production
notes segment theme. We got there in the end.
Yeah, we got there in the end together.
She had the idea to do a joint speech, and I was like, okay, what can we do for a joint speech? She initially suggested, let's do a rap. I was like, no way, I'm not doing a rap.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, she wanted to do a rap to the Thomas the Tank Engine theme. Which, in hindsight, I don't know if we could have pulled that off.
No, I don't think you could have.
It would have been very white.
Yeah.
Trying to rap to that. But that idea stuck, and I was like, okay, what about a song? Why don't we do a song instead? So we were trying to think of what song would sort of fit for our friendship, I guess.
Yeah. And
we came to the conclusion.
It's hard to describe the song choice.
So the song that we went with is something called Coventry Market the Musical, and I'll drop a tiny bit here, so you can get a sample of what it is.
Coventry Market, all kinds of everything. Something for anyone. There's no comparison. For genuine bargains, explore what's in store. Confused or amused, just ask what it's for. Treasure of wonders, exciting, enticing. Sippy kind of bopping and all kinds of everything.
So it's basically a really cheesy musical that was a promotional video for a market 10 years ago that we found on YouTube randomly and fell in love with because of how cheesy it was.
Yeah, it is a weird thing, and I think it's quite tongue-in-cheek, you know what I mean? Especially 10 years on, you can sort of look back and it is quite funny how it was made and just... But anyway...
You did something special with it.
So
can we drop a little bit of that in here?
Well, yeah. Well, do you want me to just prelude it first?
You can prelude it and then we'll drop it in.
We'll drop it in at the end of the prelude. So we had this idea to do this. We started working on it, and Tash, because we couldn't find the backing song because it's 10 years old and just on YouTube in a really bad quality version. We were like, okay, how are we going to get this backing song? We tried different things, didn't work. Well, it sort of worked, but it wasn't that great. Tash had the idea, let's contact the BBC, who actually produced it, the BBC Coventry radio station who produced it. And we heard nothing from them. We thought, okay, we're just going to have to go with this. Eventually, they got in touch with us. Tash had to go on the radio, where they gave they told us that they had this track. We then produced this track, which we'll play just in a second, or a bit of. If we don't want to put
the whole thing,
play the entire thing. And then after it was played at the wedding, we had to go back on more accurately, Jem and Tash had to go back on the radio And long story short, we're now going to Coventry.
Yeah, they've invited us there and we're going to go have a tour. So
I reckon we should wear Most Wanted t-shirts.
Yes, we definitely should.
Exactly, best couple in the world. Their goals for everyone. There's no comparison for watching the wrestling and nights in the pub. And then on to Pop World, their favourite club. They are both wonders, inspiring and charming. They're every kind of all things and all kinds of everything.
Officially the best man. You got a standing ovation after you performed the song.
Surreal, yeah. I couldn't take that in, to be honest, because I was so nervous doing it.
Yeah.
That I was just like, okay, I'm done
it's
now.
Over, it's over.
So I had people come up to me afterwards, sort of telling me that they enjoyed it and telling me how much hard work they saw go into it. I was like, that's nothing. You had to seen the 3 days before where I kept having error on the video. If I wasn't bald already, I would be bald. It was stressful. But yeah, people seem to like it. So.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. And yeah, as I say, we've been busy. We've had a lot of stuff to do, but we finally managed to get back round to watching some X-Files.
We did, yeah.
I don't want to be too pushy.
I was waiting to do a push. You beat me to it.
But should we get on with the episode?
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll steal yours.
So this is season 3, episode 17. It's titled Pusher, and it's originally aired February 23rd, 1996. Written by Vince Gilligan.
Yep,
quite a well-known name.
Definitely is now. Yeah.
Yeah, and is he Game of Thrones? Is he?
Vince Gilligan. No, he did Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I knew it was something.
Yeah.
Who's the one that was on...
Oh, God.
That's,
we've talked about it recently.
I know
everybody listening is screaming.
I know his name. It's gone.
I can't remember. I can't remember the
It's
guy's
gone.
name.
Apologies, everybody.
Yeah. Everybody at home is like, you idiots.
Nutter.
David Nutter.
That's David Nutter.
David Nutter.
So we'll just edit that.
No way. The excruciation.
Yeah. So Vince Gilligan, obviously, of Breaking Bad fame, and it's his first episode that he's wrote, and directed by Rob Bowman, which obviously we've seen that name a few times. So yeah, I think we should just get straight into the episode.
We should get into it.
Let's do it. We start off with Robert Patrick Medell.
The early indications that this man is a psychopath. He's singing in public?
Singing in public. What a lunatic.
Yeah.
Oh,
have you ever walked past anyone who's singing in public and not thought, are they like a murderer or something?
Yeah.
Like, they might be innocent, but I always think...
I always think it as well. And I always... when... Sometimes you can catch yourself singing. You've got your headphones in. Yeah. And you can catch yourself just singing along or just mouthing the words. And you think, oh God, I hope no one's heard me do that. Then there's the people that you walk past and they're singing top of their voice.
Yeah.
They are mad people. If I see one of them walking towards me, I cross the road to avoid them.
The best one I've ever had was I was at the in the toilet in work, as you do. Let's not be crude. I was in the toilet.
Yes,
that's
leave it at that. That's enough detail.
That's enough. And I heard the door open. But before I heard the door open, I heard a man singing Kate Bush as he walked into the toilet.
What song?
What was he singing now? Run Up the Hill.
Nice.
Yeah. I was just like, why now? Of all places in the toilet. He could see that the door I was behind was locked.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's good. Maybe, it's not very nice sounds in the toilet. His singing covers it all up. Yeah. I bet he came in with potpourri in his pockets as well.
Yeah.
He's just like the toilet fairy.
What a character. Maybe he's an X-File.
We'll see. Maybe in season 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see him in a supermarket. He just seems like a happy-go-lucky guy. He's buying a hell of a lot of Carbo Boost. Apparently it's like energy drinks.
Yeah, is it like a protein drink or something like that?
It's described on like Wikipedia. I had looked into it, and it's described as an energy drink.
Okay.
To me, it looked like beans, like tins of beans or something like that.
I think they do sell that. Have you seen like in this country they have like it looks like a tin of soup, but it's always in the same section as like Relentless or Monster.
I can't say I have now.
If you look on the top row, they're usually at the top, and I think they're like a protein energy drink, and they're like a milkshake, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's buying a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's guys following him.
Yes.
And they're sort of being very sort of cautious about it. There's just the one guy at first, but you sort of, as he's in the line, he sort of notices a police car, and he's very aware that people around him are there for a reason. I became aware that, I think these guys are all following him. And so he sort of mutters to himself, okay, let's do this. Reveals an FBI badge on the back of this guy's coat.
Yeah.
And then the entire store, seemingly, turns against him, arrests him there and then on the spot.
Before this happens, did you see, there's a point where somebody's reading a magazine. Did you see what was on the front of it?
I did, yeah. It was,
Fluke Man.
Fluke Man, yeah. And he laughs at it.
Yeah.
That's something that's stupid, never could happen.
I like this because sometimes you feel that the single episodes are quite disconnected from the others. So it's nice to have this acknowledgement that, this happened in the same universe.
Without a doubt, yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is a quite cool little Easter egg, I suppose. He gets arrested, and without going into like dialogue word for word, what we do notice is he seems very nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
He's joking with the officers that come in. He mentions like one of them's got a very nice name, and he doesn't seem to sort of be responding the way you would expect.
He's not worried in the slightest, is he?
No. The officer who arrests him is Frank Burst. That's who he takes. Says he's got a lovely name. He gets led out of the building. He's getting read his rights. Frank Burst seems very adamant to like make sure that he's riding shotgun with him. He's going straight to prison. We're not going to get rid of this guy. And as they're driving back, he compliments the other driver's shirt. Keeps on saying that it's a nice shade of blue. It's a cerulean blue.
You know, Deputy, I just gotta say that your uniform is really the most soothing shade of blue. I'm not kidding you, I noticed those things. It's a sky blue. Very calming. Very tranquil. I think the word for that particular shade is cerulean, actually. Cerulean blue.
Okay, we get it. It's a nice shade of blue.
Cerulean blue. Cerulean makes me think of a breeze. A gentle breeze.
Hey, Mr. Blackwell, put a sock in it.
Cerulean is a gentle breeze. Cerulean, a gentle breeze.
And you can see the driver start looking to his left towards a truck that's the cerulean blue. And all of a sudden, the truck disappears in his view, and he pulls out in front of it.
Yeah.
And what we later find out is he manages to escape, and this driver dies, and his last action is unlocking him and letting him go.
Yeah.
That was the intro. What did you think?
I really like this because you're obviously set up to know that he has some kind of ability. But at this point, I had no idea what his ability was. Yeah. I thought he had something related to colours. I was like, maybe like he's got...
That'll be a great ability.
He's got I don't know, he can change colours so it can make stuff invisible.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that. I was like, I don't really know. Some kind of like psychic ability. I was like, I don't know what his ability is. What it actually turns out to be is way more interesting, to be honest.
I mean, without jumping ahead of ourselves, I think this is one of the most interesting abilities we've come across so far.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like the strongest episode, even though I did enjoy it. In fact, it was a very strong episode, but there are stronger. But this ability in particular, I thought was very interesting. And it got me thinking, like, what would you do in that situation and how would you go about it? But we'll get to that.
I basically put that in a later note, but I basically put that he's essentially an evil Derren Brown. Yeah. That's what he is. He's just using like the power of suggestion. He's got this super ability of suggestion, but he's doing the same thing that Derren Brown.
Oh yeah. Or like Mulder says, advertising companies.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's not a sci-fi thing. It's a real ability. The only sci-fi thing about it is that it's been expanded.
Yeah.
So
you can make people do like
going in phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after the intro, we see Officer Burst, and he survived the crash, and he's telling Mulder and Scully of the incidents, and mentions that the guy is called Modell, calls himself Pusher. Apparently, it's been like for the last 2 years, there's a lot of crimes that's been in his name, and the only reason why they know it's him, because all these deaths were supposed to be suicides, but the only reason why they know it's him is because he's confessed to them.
Which should be the first indication that something's up here.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, they still can't arrest him because it still looked like suicides for all of these, but he knew details about the case, he knew intricacies that only the police should know, and so obviously Burst is pretty adamant this is the guy they need to speak to. So yeah, basically he's a contract killer. They keep on sort of analysing clues at the scene. We see now that the truck that crashed into them had the word Ceridian on it. So that sort of gets Mulder thinking that it might be the power of suggestion. Gets an eye roll from Scully, a classic eye roll. But what he also noticed is that at the crash, in blood was the word Ronin. And basically finds that he thinks that's to do with is it a samurai?
Yeah, I think they're like samurai that don't have a master.
Doesn't have a leader, or a master or a leader. Yeah. It's sort of it's almost like a rogue, and goes back to that sort of contract killer. It's a for hire, if you like.
Basically, yeah.
So he theorizes that from all this, that the name Pusher is the ability to push people to do what he wants them to do.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole Ronin thing is. It's he's hired to do this, basically. So they go to the first line of inquiry is he starts looking for magazines, because he theorises that, well, if Ronins put their services out for hire, that's what he's going to do. He's going to start advertising. And what he does notice is there's this one clip that's been in there for the last 14 years, he says. And all basically saying, do you need something doing? Let me know. It's really sort of simplified, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's got like 3 letters as well, isn't it? ISU or something like
that. I couldn't. What was the? I didn't note down what it meant, but it was some like Japanese word.
Yeah, it turns it to a Japanese word, and I think it means to push.
Oh yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah. So they've got the first lead. They've got the numbers on the ad.
I really liked all of this like casework because everything was the classic sort of intrigue and crime sort of story where there's all these clues and they all line up.
Yeah.
And it feels natural. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, well, that's a bit of a stretch to get to this. Everything felt like, okay, I guess this is plausible, you know what I mean?
It is nice sometimes to have a bit of detective work.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes that can go amiss with them just sort of following what people are telling them, and it gets weirder and weirder, and the only reason why they're there is because they believe it, rather than when everyone else doesn't.
Yeah.
But in this episode, they really do sort of employ some proper detective work. Now, yes, if you're being nitpicky, they do go through. They jump from A to C, and it's logical, but they miss a few steps, and like it's very quick how they get there. But at the end of the day, it's a 40-minute show. It's not about that. At the end of the day, it's nice to include it, but it's not about that. And I feel like if it's a proper detective show, show all the missteps and show all the things that could go wrong before you got there. But in this is perfect. Just show where you're going and then when you get there. That's all you need. Yeah. You know what I mean?
With some steps along the way.
Yeah, that's perfect. To be honest, throughout this episode, I did like this. It was very much, I don't know whether some viewers might... You watched Death Notes? The anime.
Yeah.
Very Death Note kind of vibe, where you had one Mulder who has like this ability of deduction and belief in his own self.
Yeah.
And then you had this guy who had this ability to push people to do things. It was very much a battle of the mind type thing.
I hadn't thought of that like parallel, but it's actually quite similar to it. This supernatural ability on the the guy they're trying to catch, and then the other person, just using.
I'm willing to believe it because that's what the logical thing tells him is right.
Is happening, yeah.
So it is very similar, and that's sort of battle of the minds and finding their arch rivals. It's really interesting.
If you like this episode, watch Death Note, because it's basically this episode, but over like 30 episodes.
Yes. And to be fair, watch Death Note anyway.
It's
Death
really good. It's really good. Yeah.
Even if it is anime, if you've not watched anime before, don't let that put you off. Because it's the one anime that doesn't feel like an anime.
It doesn't have too many tropes, does it? No. Like, there's no crazy comedy, like somebody is like...
You know what? That noise is exactly why people don't like anime. Yeah. It's the... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no
one, even like the English dubbed versions, they still go,
Yeah.
Like when someone will like walk out in front of the road, It's like, it doesn't make any sense. No one does that. But it's an anime trope.
I've found that, like, watching like Korean films showed me this, that like Far Eastern like drama has a lot of melodrama to it.
Exactly, yeah, it is.
The scene that I could never get out of my head for that kind of stuff was, there's a Korean horror film called The Host, and everybody like around like that kind of like scene was saying it's a masterpiece, it's brilliant, it's amazing. But there's one scene where a character dies or is believed to be dead, so they have a funeral for them. And their entire family keeps coming in, and every time they get to the coffin, I guess, or the urn or whatever it is, they collapse to the floor crying and screaming, and it keeps happening over and over. I was like, people don't do this at funerals. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, like, it can happen, but not every family member.
No, honestly,
it was very melodramatic.
There's a lot of it. Like my wife, my wife is I believe the correct term is Japanophile.
Yes.
Basically, she's mad into Japan culture. Has been since she was a kid. Japanese bands, anime, Japanese TV shows, and
are you outing Gem in this?
I'm outing
Gem. You're
Gem.
Gonna hear this. You're gonna be so angry.
I'm outing Gem, and she watches a lot of Japanese programs.
Yeah.
My God, she doesn't let me watch them with her because I take the mick, and I joke, and she's like really into it. But like a lot of the shows are about. I always say there's only two. I mean, this is obviously a joke. Like I'm just messing about with her to play her up. But I always say there's only ever two Japanese shows. There's either a rags to riches story in the kitchen where he becomes like a dishwasher to a master chef over a season, or a guy's pretending to be a girl in an all-boys school, or vice versa. That's the only two Japanese storylines. There really is.
Yeah.
But like you said about the melodrama, I remember walking in on a scene and like he'd spilt some soup and like the world goes mad. Like everyone's just like, no one can believe quite what's happened that this soup's on the floor. And it's like, it's just so ridiculous. And I understand why it's entertaining, but like when you just walk in on it, I can understand why she doesn't want me to watch it with her, because I just take the mick. I just laugh. And it's...
I think it is just that difference in how dramas are sort of seen in like around the world. And I imagine like there's probably different like tropes of like I don't know. Like,
in England, English dramas have the tropes where it's way too gritty.
Yeah.
It like everyone's a hard man in English dramas. You know what I mean? Like it's so. I don't really know. Like I don't really know how to describe it, but it's very much like real world. This is the real world. It's like, no, people don't act like that.
There's no fantasy to it. There's no escapism. It's like, well, I remember watching the quintessential English hard drama. There was a TV show and it was about like 5 people. Like it was 5 episodes and they all lived in London and they all like interacted with one another but told different stories. Everyone's life was miserable. Yeah. Absolutely miserable. And it was literally just watching people go from bad to worse. And it's like, this is England. Yeah. It's just horrible.
But we've gone a huge tangent. We haven't even started. So they've got the numbers.
Yes.
They use the numbers placed in the ad and they basically track it down to a payphone.
Yeah.
And so they stake out this payphone and there's a nice little moment where Scully falls asleep on Mulder's shoulder.
I like this.
I know a few listeners that would probably like that as well. And so I always pick up on this because, I mean, it's a nice moment. But I know, like, just judging from our, like, Instagram account and our Twitter account, I know, like, moments like this are remembered. And there's another moment, I think it's in the end of this episode, where they hold hands.
Yeah.
And I bet that's a huge moment for some of the fan base. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of the pivotal moments. Because I've seen stuff with, like, you know, I can't remember for the life of me what episode it was, but there was one episode where Mulder wipes a bit of meatball sauce off Scully's face. The amount of times I've seen that image.
That was Red Museum.
Yes.
I remember that one because I don't like that episode very much.
But the amount of times I've seen that image on our Twitter profile, because it's the beginning of the relationship, you know what I mean? And
I think when you've got the full context of the entire series, you can see these seeds lead to what we eventually know is going to happen but haven't seen yet.
They're going to become pivotal moments,
and you can clip them out.
Exactly.
So you can ignore the rubbish episode like Red Museum and just take this nice clip.
They're perfect. Yeah. So that's all you need.
But I did like this little seed of romance there.
Yeah. Especially when Mulder tells her that you probably drooled on me. But the phone does ring. They rush to it, and it's the Pusher. And he's basically, again, without going into it verbatim, mocks them. Mm-hmm. Tells them that they're following the clues, but I'm not here. I've not been here for an hour. I've watched you a little bit, but you're just waiting for no one. As said, follow the clues, and let your fingers do the walking.
Yeah. Which I think to us doesn't make sense. So that clue doesn't make too much sense. But I read about this later. That was the logo or the motto for the Yellow Pages in America.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
But I had no. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about there.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I thought like maybe he would walk up the keypad
which makes sense because when you've seen the Yellow Pages, it's always those two fingers, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah.
I've never heard that saying.
No, me neither. Okay, interesting. Oh,
also, it's good. Yellow Pages, man. What happened to those?
I find it bizarre that the iPod's out of date now.
I know.
Like, imagine 5 years ago, even thinking that everyone wouldn't have an iPod. Who has an iPod anymore?
I know. Do you know what though? I wish I had an iPod because the amount of times where I'm like, I want to listen to some music. My phone battery's nearly dead.
Yeah, I know.
I would love to have a second device to do.
I'm surprised they've not gone down in price. They're still expensive.
They are. If you go to, I had a look in. Sorry, this is a real tangent now.
Sorry.
Into cash generators. It was like 120 quid. I was like, what?
Yeah, honestly. And I thought I was going to buy one about a year back because I thought they're going to be dirt cheap now because they're obsolete. No one's buying them. Obviously, some people are because they're still keeping the price.
Yeah, mental.
Yeah.
Anyway, for more cash generator news, follow us next week. We'll give you an update.
So, they track this phone call from to a golf club, and at the driving range, we can see Pusher, and he's having a lovely game of golf with these two Japanese fellas.
Yeah. He's very into his Japanese stuff, isn't he? He's a bit of a Japanophile.
He is a bit, actually. Yeah, good points. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Don't trust him then, Japanophiles.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's playing golf. I mean, it's a bit of a weird tangent. He starts to talk about like non-regulation golf balls and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But basically, he's watching out in the distance and he notices there's a sniper waiting for him. So he knows he's sort of being he's being watched. And yeah, he ends up legging it. So a SWAT team arrives with Mulder and Scully in tow, and of course Burst. One of the officers on the SWAT team finds him in a sort of like a shed almost.
Corners him.
Yeah, holds a gun up to him, but Pusher turns around and basically says to him, "Calm down. You don't want to do this, and show me your face." And this officer starts taking off his helmet. He starts taking off his mask, following his every command. And the next thing we see is this officer walking out, covering himself in gasoline, and the interesting thing I thought here was they're all trying to talk him out of it. They're all trying to stop him. And as he keeps trying to light the lighter. I'm doing the motion for anyone who can't see me. As he's trying to light the lighter, he's actually saying to Mulder, "Stop me, stop me." So he's still there. It's almost like he's trapped in his own body. Because his mind's still there, and he's crying, and he doesn't want to do it. It's kind of a haunting scene when you think about it. But eventually, he lights the lighter and he goes up in flames.
It mirrors what a character says later on as well, where it says it feels like you're basically watching yourself from across the room.
Yeah. So, which I think is a terrifying thought, really, because to be suggestible, that's one thing, but to have no control over what you're doing, but know you're doing something wrong, like, that's horrific, really. Like, if he tells you to murder somebody, like murder your wife, and you did it, but you can see yourself doing it, that's horrific. So, like, the implications as to what that means for all his murder victims is awful, really.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, there's a lot of burns in X-Files, isn't there? A lot of people get set on fire.
I don't think there's... Surely... I mean, I'm not an expert, but, like, they got that fire out really quick. Like, Scully was on hand with a fire extinguisher as soon as he goes up in flames, and Mulder throws a jacket round him, and that... Would it burn you that quickly?
No idea.
I mean, maybe with a gasoline.
I was going to say, maybe the petrol on him.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But, like, it just seemed like he was head to toe 3rd-degree burns, and it just seemed really quick. And if that, I mean, for all I know, it could be that, and that's terrifying if that's the case. Because my God, he was like scarred for life.
Did he die or?
They don't say he died.
I assumed he died.
I assumed he didn't, but like I don't think they mention it. I don't think it's relevant, to be honest. Like,
no. At
the end of the day, his life has been ruined by this guy. But Mulder acts quick and manages to catch him in his car, and he's actually in his car out of breath. He's struggling, and he gets caught basically to the point where I thought he wanted to get caught.
Yeah, it seemed that way, but
we find out later on maybe that's not the case. So. We jump then to his courtroom hearing, and Mulder does his Mulder thing. I love this. Yeah. Long story short, Mulder ends up going into, well, all these people committed suicide, but he's using the power of suggestion to make him do it. And Scully just rolls her eyes because no one's going to believe this. Yeah. Like, it's all well and good you having the proof in your head, but it was the same thing with Toombs. And trying to explain that to Toombs.
That's Mulder's trouble all the time. He goes in really strong, expecting everyone to already be on his side. Yet I think he needs to realise, and I mean, maybe he does later on.
Yeah.
I think he needs to realise that most people aren't going to believe what you're telling them just because you're saying it.
But in Mulder's defence, what he said was right. They had enough evidence, even with his confession, to remand him in custody.
Yeah.
But Pusher manages to say a few words to the judge, and the impression is made that the judge is kinder to him and lets him go because of what Pusher said to him. Yeah. It's not explicit that was the case, but I think it suggested enough that, that was what happened.
And this is where I fell in love with him as a monster of the week, so to speak. It's really subtle. You know what I mean? This is something where you go, plausibly, maybe not this setting, making someone set themselves on fire, but plausibly, we know suggestion's a thing. This could technically happen, to a degree.
This is an exaggerated version of what could happen. Yeah,
exactly. Let's say Darren Brown does go mental, and he just decides,
robs a bank.
Yeah, I want to rob a bank. Yeah. He showed he can.
Yeah.
So, this is a possibility. I quite like this because it's like, okay, I quite like how it's being presented.
I was going to talk to you about this, but I was going to save it till later. But we can talk about it now. In the case of this sort of power, if in the real world, it's not a power, when you think of what superpower would you have?
Yeah.
It's not a power that comes to mind straight away.
No.
But this would be right up there for me.
Because it's, how do you prove this? How do you...
You don't. But I think the thing is, like we said, this is an exaggerated version. I think if you used to have this power in the real world, I think one of the drawbacks would be, I don't think it would work on everyone.
No.
I think the power of suggestion works. You go to a hypnosis show. Now, I don't believe in hypnosis myself, right? I believe it's all power of suggestion, and even hypnotists have come out and said that when they go to do these shows at bars and stuff like that, and they ask these opening questions, and people put their hands up, they know from the people who put their hands up who's suggestible.
Oh yeah,
because they want to be tricked and they want to be under that influence, and so they pick the people who they know are going to go along with what they do.
I think there's definitely, if you are completely dead set against it, and not even dead set against it, because there's some people who are dead set against it, but the doubt in them can get triggered as well. But if you're like, this is bullshit, I don't believe this, and there's nothing you can say that makes me believe it, I think it doesn't work on you, and I think it can struggle.
Well, and the other sort of side of things is it happens in all walks of life. So there's a lot of ghost tours. Ghost tours are quite popular, especially around this area for some reason. And I don't believe in that either. I don't believe in sort of paranormal. I don't believe in ghosts. But these ghost tours stay in business, even though I guarantee nothing happens on any of them. I don't think they trick people. Nothing happens to anyone on any of them. It's a spooky atmosphere, and the very fact that the people who go to these turned up, if you're paying to go to one of these tours, you've already got your mindset that you're going to see something. Yeah. You wouldn't pay.
You want to see.
Exactly. If you were like me, I'd like to go on one of these tours. I'm not paying 30 quid to go on one of them tours because I know I'm not going to see anything. Yeah. I'd like to do it to see the spooky atmosphere. I'm not going to pay 30 quid. Yeah. But if I was the type of person to pay 30 quid...
You'd love a ghost train, you would.
Yeah.
They're very spooky.
But if I was going to pay 30 quid, it's because I think I'm going to see something. Yeah. And so when I get there and the atmosphere's ramped up and your mind starts playing tricks on you, I fully believe that people do start to see stuff in what they want to see. Do you know what I mean? And that's all power of suggestion.
I've always, don't get me wrong, I'm not, I don't not believe in ghosts. It's one of those. I don't believe in them.
Yeah.
I would like to think...
You're open to the idea,
it's more that I would like it to be a thing. Yeah. Because it's more interesting than if there's not, you know what I mean? But anyway, I remember once I was coming back home from work, and this is why I don't believe in like ghost stories and stuff like that anymore. I was walking back from work and I saw, I used to live next to a canal bridge, and it looked in the distance as I was walking there, this was like 4 or 5 in the morning, it was after like a late shift, and I was certain that I saw the shape of someone standing in front of it, and in my head I'm thinking, oh, it's a mugger. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking this. Then as I got a bit closer, I was like, no, what is that? It looked like the classic ghost. I was like, what is that? As I got closer, I realised it was a stain from where the water had dripped down. It made this white stain on the wall, and it just looked like...
Yeah.
But then I realised it is all just your brain, playing tricks, because your brain wants to see things there, basically.
Your brain wants to make sense of it, and that seems to be the... Yeah. That's why in every country you've got different types of horror stories.
Yeah.
Because if you're, say for example, if you're in Japan... and we're talking a lot about Japan in this episode, but if you're from Japan, you've been brought up with what's that sort of
yokai?
Yeah, exactly. You've been brought up with all those stories, and so that's why in Japanese culture, if you're that way inclined to sort of believe ghosts, you tend to see that type of ghost.
It's quite a spirit.
Whereas in England, what's the stereotypical type of ghost here? Well, it's the Victorian man in the window. Do you know what I mean? That. Why are all ghosts wearing Victorian clothes? Why don't you see a ghost in a hoodie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't, do you? The people have died in the last 20 years. Surely there should be but it's not, because that's not what your mind has been brought up with in all the ghost stories. Yeah, exactly. That's what your mind jumps to. But anyway, why are we talking about the psychology?
What time period ghost would you want to see, if not a Victorian ghost?
I'd love to see a Viking.
Yeah.
Because Vikings did take up the UK. Imagine just seeing a naked man in a horned helmet. That would be the...
You can see that if you want, my friend.
And that's my cue to move on to X-Files. I can't believe you culminated a deep discussion about the psychology and the power of suggestion with a crude joke.
That's literally the way my brain works.
Well played.
It starts off with interesting questions and then ends in smut.
Smut.
Every time.
Yeah, always smut. Yeah. So, long story short, Pusher gets off.
Yeah.
And the agents start sort of looking into his background, trying to figure out sort of they know his name now.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a scene, on the staircase where he Mulder owes him a $5 and they sort of stand off. And I did like Mulder saying,
"Hey, your shoes untied. Made you look. How do you do it?"
But I did like that. As silly as it was, it had meaning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He used the power of suggestion
on him. It's that whole...
to a lesser degree.
It was very much Sherlock Moriarty kind of...
Yes.
I'm smarter than you, kind of battle of wills. You know
yes,
what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that.
And they really hone in on this sort of rivalry, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But now they know his name, they do some research, and they find that he actually applied and failed to be in the FBI. He also tries to join the Navy SEALs. He basically... the indication is he's always wanted to be more than he actually is. But even though he's claiming all this, he never actually did anything with his life.
Yes, yeah.
That's something to take away and something to remember for the end.
Yeah.
While this is happening, Pusher enters the FBI headquarters, armed only with a piece of paper on his pocket saying the word pass.
Did you see the celebrity cameo in as he was entering the... it was when he was going towards the scanners.
I can't say I did, no.
I didn't at first. I watched the note. I did the notes, which we'll cover it in that part.
Yeah.
There was a celebrity cameo in this part, and it was somebody's first acting role.
Oh. Can I guess? Can I have one guess?
You can have one guess.
I was going to say Michael Caine, but he did a lot of acting before then. Yeah, I know. Don't judge me. I was put on the spot. My mind did funny things. Okay, let's get past that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say. Oh God, Emily Blunt.
No, it wasn't.
I don't know why Emily Blunt came into my head. Emily.
Good guess. Good guess.
Thank you.
But very wrong.
Okay, go on.
Anyway, no, we'll tell you at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Look, don't leave us, guys.
Right. So yeah, he's using this piece of paper that says pass, and everyone's believing it's a pass. And he manages to get into... Basically, he's trying to find Mulder and Scully's records.
You missed out on the most important part.
I did miss out on Molly.
Not even that.
Oh.
Bigger part. The lobby guard's back. This was the same lobby guard in one of the earlier episodes of this series.
I have no recollection of this lobby guard. Was he a main character?
Not really, no, but we did say at the time I would love to see him again, and he was, and you bloody missed it.
No, I forgot about him. What did he do that?
He was in the, what's it called, the something way, the finding way or
what
something?
What did he do that made me want to see him again?
I don't know, he was just quite chirpy. And
was he chirpy? Yeah. It wasn't chirpy this one.
Yeah.
He wasn't good at his job in this one.
He gets sacked probably. He won't be in it again. Trying to explain this one. You let a man with bits of paper on his chest walk past.
One thing I did forget to mention earlier was there was this sort of, I suppose, apprentice, if you like, called Molly. Basically does all like the sort of the paperwork.
Yeah.
And she does mention to Mulder earlier that she got a scar on her face and it's because she got mugged.
Yeah.
So that becomes an important part where Molly helps Pusher find Mulder and Scully's files. Obviously through the power of his suggestion. Mm-hmm. Right up until the point where Walter Skinner walks in. Mm. Oh, I love Skinner. He doesn't take any messing. He knows exactly what's going on.
Like he tries to suggest him, but I don't know if this is some kind of like
Skinner can't be suggested.
Like you mean telling me to
can't push Skinner?
It's gonna push you.
He's gonna push you, sir,
to the ground.
Skinner's just like such a badass. Skinner comes in, takes no mess and like attacks him almost immediately. He could have been like an official but no, he doesn't matter.
He's a diplomat and he just decks him up
against a bookcase. But how Pusher gets out of it is he tells Molly that this is the guy that mugged you, and so Molly hits him with pepper spray on the floor, and she just starts kicking him and. Poor Skinner.
Skinner didn't fight in Vietnam for this.
He didn't.
Unbelievable.
He didn't. So, he just wants to throw people at bookcases. That's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
But Pusher manages to escape, and after all this, they're talking to Molly afterwards. Skinner is with Mulder and Scully, and basically even Scully comes to the conclusion that he's doing this.
Yeah.
They've also enough. And I think Mulder even gives her sort of a little eye saying, oh, you believe, like, you've come to this conclusion on your own. Because Scully just fully buys it at this point.
Yeah. I think you have to at this point. Now, like,
to an extent, yeah. So, as we start to head towards the latter part of this episode, we see Mulder and Scully raiding Pusher's apartment. Mm-hmm. And they don't really find much. They find a lot of these cans of energy drink. I do like Mulder's little liner saying, I think it's like a pineapple flavoured drink or something, or a mango flavour or something. He goes, now we know he's crazy. Yeah. But what they do find is pills. Mm-hmm. And Scully knows that these pills are to treat brain aneurysms, they're used to treat epilepsy, which can be brought on by brain tumours.
Tumours, yeah.
and Mulder notes that brain tumours often correlate with sort of abilities forming.
Yeah. Because at this point, he's probably thinking maybe it's some kind of like psychic thing. Or
something. He's got his psychokinesis, doesn't he? Like a form of it. And he thinks that's why he needs the energy drinks to sort of, because it's so mentally exhausting for him to do it, that he needs to replenish himself.
Which would explain that scene as well, where he's just sat in the car knackered.
Well, that's what they say, don't they? I mean, they go on to say that if he's got a brain tumour, he would be dying.
Yeah.
And so exactly right. He might actually be close to death at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But this scene was very interesting.
Yeah.
Pusher then phones up, and Agent Burst answers. And what he does is he starts talking about Agent Burst's diet and his sort of high-fat diet and what that must be doing to his arteries. And as soon as he starts to mention that, we all as an audience know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Agent Burst's arteries start to clog up and he starts to have a heart attack, despite Mulder telling him to hang up the phone.
He keeps refusing because he wants to complete this trace.
Which ends up being
pointless
anyway, because he's called from a number and he'll just tell the number.
Yeah.
He's not trying to hide.
Yeah.
So he kills this man for no reason, basically.
Yeah.
But to know that that's the sort of power he has, that he can change the biological element of a person, that's quite impressive.
Yeah. They said it was just it's this level of suggestion, but now it's got to the point where Siri decided to activate there. As I was trying to talk, I was like, no. It's to this point now where it is a supernatural ability, because it's like, wow, he can talk your blood to thicken, basically. You know what I mean? Like this is where it becomes an X-File,
but then,
I guess.
On the flip side, does he? Or does there is like sort of genuine scientific research in the whole mind over matter thing, and is it possible? And I'm just throwing this out there. I could be talking a lot of rubbish. But is it possible that he could convince his mind so much that his mind shuts his heart down?
Maybe, yeah.
His mind believes having a heart attack, and so his body reacts to what he believes is a heart attack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's true, because we don't get the full autopsy of how he died at this point.
Of course we don't.
We're just hearing what he's telling him.
And that does happen. Your brain, like that's what adrenaline is.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear of like people getting shot in the arm and don't realise it because their brain at the time tells your body nothing's wrong, because your brain knows that your body needs to survive this situation, so it blocks off all pain receptors. It's only after you're safe that you go, oh my god, I'm bleeding.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So your brain can mess around with you the way your body reacts. I wonder whether it's possible that he's made his own brain has made him have a heart. That's what I
potentially.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's an interesting theory, anyway.
One thing I noticed in this, and they do it earlier on as well. They do the trace, and in this time it does work. He does get the trace off. This is probably the only time I've ever seen a trace work in TV and film.
Yeah, it never works.
Never works. Why does no one should bother? Honestly, it's like they always cut. Everyone knows the cut-off time. Like, oh, I've got a minute.
I bet it's instantaneous now.
Yeah, I get the feeling. I get the feeling they do it in TV and make you set up to think, oh, it's a minute.
To create tension, isn't it?
To create tension. I also reckon they've done. Somebody suggested that, like maybe a police officer suggested, so tell them it's a minute because we could do it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
If they're telling them a minute, they're like, I've got a minute. I'm
That's
gonna
a good point.
like, oh shit, I've been caught. Maybe, who knows?
I know for a fact they can tell what radio tower pings. And
yeah,
so
for mobiles, like
So
yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, it's mostly mobiles now.
Yeah.
So that in itself would give you like a 3-mile radius.
Obviously, triangulation, and they can work it out based off
which triangle you're in, basically.
Yeah.
So we get on to basically the final scene. It's the long final scene. They track this call to a nearby hospital, and they find his car. The engine's still hot, so they know he's in there.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm glad they didn't fall down a trope that I thought they was going to, because I saw a load of armed men with assault rifles, like squad, like raid, SWAT police, running towards the hospital. I was like, why? Can we all please stop sending men with automatic rifles to a guy that can turn them against us?
Or just wear earphones.
Or wear headphones,
I thought that at one point. I was like, just stick some headphones in. Like,
exactly.
Can't hear him then, just blast
heavy
it.
metal, yeah. But they don't fall down that trap.
No.
Because they do say, well, we're not going to send people in there because they can turn whatever we send in against people, us and sick people.
Exactly.
So Mulder decides to enter on his own fitted with a head camera and microphone.
I like the little character that we've got set up here as well, the lieutenant. Lieutenant Brophy, which, man, what a name.
Nice, I like it. I didn't even notice his name.
It was on his badge, and I just saw it spelled Brophy, and I was like, man, imagine having a name as Brophy. What a name.
I like this guy because he's a serious guy. He's very worried about the situation. But then when Mulder asks whether he can get Playboy on there, he has a good chuckle at that. Because you know what? A little bit of, as we've already learned in this episode, a little bit of smut is fine for any situation.
It is.
It's perfect.
So yeah.
Mulder loves a good smutty joke.
He does. I reckon he'd love that one.
I think he would have loved yours, yeah, the Viking joke.
Tell him.
We'll have to, if we ever go to like a convention,
can you pretend to be Mulder?
With David Duchovny. Yeah, can you please just pretend to be Mulder whilst we tell you a smutty joke? And that would be our dream, right there. So he enters this hospital. He's got the whole cam on, and Scully, as he goes through the sort of MRI room.
Imagine seeing him walk in like this. He just walks into the hospital, obviously, and he's just decked out with his Kevlar vest and head camera. Look like RoboCop. So what's going on? Please go about your days. When he says it's like, how am I meant to go about my day now? Oh, God.
Well, he goes in, he notices 2 shots go off. He goes into the MRI room where he notices a couple of doctors that have been killed, seemingly by themselves. Mm-hmm. And Scully notices on the computer monitor in that room, through the camera, that the tumour's there and he's basically close to death.
Yeah.
But Mulder turns around and he's there, got a gun pointed on him, and he gets rid of the camera.
Yeah.
So, of course, Scully rushes in after him. And we cut to Scully basically checking out all the rooms, trying to find him, and he finds them sat at the opposite end of the table. And Pusher is talking about how he's his nemesis, how he talks about what's the word? Ronins again.
Yes, yeah.
And how they stay out of the battle, that they spend their lives outside the battle, and that's why they always win, because they don't go head first. They pick the battles from outside the battle. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of, if you look into his life, he's trying to almost justify his doing nothing in his life.
Yeah.
By saying that he's only doing nothing because that's the way he was brought up as a Ronin.
Yeah.
Whereas in actual fact, he's using this ability that he's gained to give his life some purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Right at the end where, I think you see that from like, I don't know if it's sociopath or psychopaths, where they try to see themselves as like sort of the superior in every situation, even though they've done, in this case, nothing. He sort of sees himself as like a higher intellect and stuff like that.
And his whole life has been leading up to this moment.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So he then asks Mulder to play a game with him. It's Russian roulette. But it's a little bit different because he only gets one. Apparently he gets one bullet and one only.
Yeah.
So Mulder, apparently under the power of suggestion, picks up the gun and shoots a Pusher, and the chamber's empty.
Yeah.
Then
I like how sweaty Mulder's face is in this.
Mulder's acting is great. Well, David Duchovny's acting in this whole episode's really good.
Yeah.
I love how stressed he is a lot of the time. But anyway, the chamber's empty. Scully's begging him not to stop, to not listen to him, but he then turns the gun on himself and pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a shocking moment that he does that. Because I thought he was playing with him, and then he pulls the trigger on himself. I'm like, oh my god!
And you realise he's actually under the control now.
Yeah, he's under this spell.
Yeah.
And Scully's like crying, and she's not liking this. Mulder then turns the gun on Scully, and he's constantly in his ear. You got do it, shoot her. And Mulder actually says to Scully, run.
Yeah.
And you can tell he doesn't want to do it, but he pulls the trigger, empty again. But by this point, Scully runs and turns the fire alarm off, which I'm assuming messes with his ears or like knocks him out of the spell he's under.
I guess like if it's sort of like hypnosis kind of thing, I suppose.
It's a shock.
Yeah, when you hypnotise, if someone hits you or something, you fall out of it. Yeah.
To which, this is shocking. Mulder stands up and empties the round on this guy. Just goes for the kill.
Yeah.
but there was no bullets in any of the chambers. It was all blanks.
Yeah.
So he was again playing a game with them. I don't know what the aim of this game was. I don't know what he was trying to prove.
I think he's just like that type of supervillain kind of thing where they just like toying with the hero,
Proving
I guess.
That he can.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. That Joker kind of thing in it, yeah.
So...
I like this as well, because it's sort of like, usually they beat the villain. This time they didn't. He won, really.
He won.
Yeah.
He won because Mulder literally almost committed murder. Well, he tried. He did try and commit murder.
Yeah.
Because how much he knew this guy was, how dangerous this guy was.
Yeah.
And he knew he was dying anyway. Like, this guy knew he was dying. Like you said, he won. He did win this battle.
Yeah.
We find that on later. They both agents visit Pusher in a hospital. And he's in a coma, and Scully basically predicts that he will never wake from this coma. Then that's him from now. They don't know how long he's going to last, but he won't wake up. And Mulder basically puts the theory forward that his life meant nothing, and so this tumour made him something, because given this ability, it made him something. And he also points out that the charts he saw see that he was refusing treatment.
Yeah, he could have actually treated it. Yeah.
He could have treated it, but because this gave him this ability, he saw this as better than being alive for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
So Scully basically, he calls him a little man, and his abilities made him feel big. And Scully then says, well, let's not waste any more time thinking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk out the room, and pretty much the end of the episode at that point.
Yeah.
What did you think of this whole episode?
I thought this was a really, really good one-off episode. Like, I'd say it's definitely up there as one of the better Monster of the Week episodes. Probably...
Completely agree, I'd say.
I don't know. See, I'm trying to think in my head, like, where it would rank, like, on the other ones. And I'd sort of say it's on par, or at least up there with something like Tombs, or something of that caliber.
For me it is, because it's got that genuine fascination factor. I think a good Monster of the Week for me is an episode that makes me wonder what I would do in that situation.
Yeah.
It puts me in a situation which I'm not used to.
Yeah.
And for this one, I was like you said, you talk about putting the music in your headphones.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through, I was like, how would you combat the situation? I was coming up with theories myself. Like, I'd do this and I'd do that. But yeah, like, I love that about it.
It felt like, I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but it felt like Seven. Do you know the film Seven? Not as dark, obviously, because that goes to some really dark places.
It certainly does.
But like that type of like cat and mouse, trying to catch this killer who's got this sort of like weird moral, I guess. It felt like that.
There's a lot of comparisons like that, like Death Notes. Very similar.
Yeah.
I also thought of an Unusual Suspect as well.
Yeah, do you know what? I've not seen that.
Have you not?
I know the twist, don't worry.
Oh, fair enough.
Everyone knows the twist at this point. Yeah.
But again, very good film. Like, I think it draws a lot of comparisons from it's this rivalry, it's this sort of good guy versus guy that thinks he's the good guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's very interesting dynamic between the two characters.
Yeah.
It's a shame that this guy is in a coma now and he's dead. Because I think this guy, even though he's not as dangerous as someone like Tombs, for example, or he's not as flash as someone like, say, the Flute Man, not as like memorable, if you like, I think this guy has the potential to be Mulder's Moriarty. To be the sort of the arch rival, the Lex Luthor to Superman type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy genuinely does have that status for me. And it's just a shame that it was a one-off. And it's still a great episode.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought he was that good. I really did enjoy this episode for that reason.
Luke's production notes.
So we've got a special production notes this week. It's a new format I'm trying. It's not really new. It's the same format, but with extra stuff at the end. So we're going to have the production notes, and then I'm going to have what I like to call, Did We Match With the Critics?
Okay.
Might need a snappier title, so please let me know if you think of anything else. But basically, I'm going to go over what the critics thought.
Okay, and see whether we was in the sort of right line.
Yeah, I'm just going to take some snippets from stuff. I'm not going through every...
I want to see every single critic.
Do you know on Wikipedia it gives every review and it's like, I'm not seeing for it. They gave it an A-. You can read for that. You can read that on Wikipedia if you are interested. But we'll just give a general overview if we matched up. So, anyway, production notes. Gilligan wanted the episode to be a tense cat and mouse game between Mulder and Modell. And he later explained, the only conscious thing I wanted to do from the start was get them together as much as I could. When Gilligan turned in his script, he told series creator Chris Carter that the episode was the best work I'm ever going to do for you. Carter retorted that the show's writers should try to outdo their last effort.
Ooh, throwing out the gauntlet. I think Gilligan's got the last laugh with Breaking Bad.
You wait and see.
Universally one of the best shows on TV.
10 years' time, you'll see. I did hear there's a little spoiler for the future. Oh, do you want to know, actually? Before I say
it about the show?
It's about who's in the show.
Is Vince Gilligan in the show?
Oh, he's writing it, isn't he?
No, I mean like in it.
I won't say any more. Do you want to know?
Yes, I do.
You do.
If there is anyone that's following along with us and don't want to know, skip forward 30 seconds.
Yeah. So, Vince Gilligan had his first work with the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. What's the character?
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, that's it.
Oh, so he's in the show?
He's in the show in a later series.
The dad from Malcolm in the Middle. He's one of the greatest TV stars of our time, and you reference Malcolm in the Middle.
You could have
said Walter White. We were literally just talking about Breaking Bad.
You're not the boss of me now.
Go on, next production notes, come on.
Right, yeah. The final scene, featuring a game of Russian roulette, was met with resistance from Fox's Standards and Practices Department, which argued that because the game had never been seen on television series before, it was unsuitable for broadcast. The department also claimed that the scene could be harmful to impressionable young children. After a series of tense negotiations, the producers refused to concede, and the scene was included in the episode, largely uncut. Gilligan later noted that he could not believe we got away with it.
Yeah, I think it was necessary as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea as a standoff between the two of them. So yeah,
it's mental that there's everyone remembers the famous scene in The Deer Hunter, which was 1970 something.
Yeah.
So that was in film.
Film and TV was very different, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, true.
I remember there was this it was very a B movie type thing. It had Eva Mendes in it. But it was a B movie and it was about Russian roulette. Right. But it had been monetized and basically made into a game show.
Right.
And so you'd win $1 million if you played this game of Russian roulette.
Okay.
And for a B movie, it was quite tense. It was like,
I guess Russian roulette. It always ramps up the tension.
Because you had these people coming on and it was basically Big Brother type characters that would come on and they'd have these promo packages.
Yeah.
And then when it actually gets to it, they'd sort of fall apart and the facade would fall and they'd just be scared people, just doing it to themselves. It was quite a horrendous show, to be honest with you. Interesting.
I always theorise that in future, because game shows seem to be getting more adversarial, everything's trying to pit everyone against one another, especially with reality shows like you mentioned Big Brother, they're made to make people argue. And I said, surely we should cut out the bullshit of trying to get back into what we originally did in Roman times, gladiator games.
Yes,
maybe we just need
that.
Live gladiator showdowns. A man fight, not tiger. I don't want to see a tiger injured, but two
robot tiger.
Yeah.
You don't seem convinced. I thought Robot Tiger was the clincher right there, and now I'm not getting a good vibe from you.
Do you know what? I would see a Robot Tiger, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I had to think about it for a second.
Man vs. Robot Tiger. That would be amazing.
The Robot Tiger always wins. But yeah, it just reminds me of Rick and Morty with a man versus a car and the car just runs him over. Anyway, the episode contains several inside jokes. The Fluke Man from season 2 episode appeared on a tabloid in the opening scene, as we called out. That was one we found. The tabloid that featured the Fluke Man also had a small image of props master Ken Horwilly.
Okay. Sounds right.
I apologise if I butchered that. And the American Ronin magazine that Mulder flipped through contains a blink-and-you'll-miss-it shot of production assistant Danielle Faith.
Oh, nice.
So we got some of the cast and crew.
Making an appearance, I like it.
Or crew. This is more accurate. When Mulder is being fitted for a camera, the script originally had him ask if the device received the Discovery Channel. Duchovny, knowing his character had an interest in pornography, changed the line to the Playboy Channel.
The interests, yeah.
An interest. A vested interest. Several actors were considered for the role of Robert Modell. Even Lance Henriksen. Have you heard of that name before?
No.
I only know him. Like, the name...
I'm going to quickly search him now while you're talking.
The name rang a bell, and I was like, I'm sure I know him from something. And I was like, I'm sure I know him from a specific film that I like quite a lot. And I was right in guessing it.
Go on, what film do you know him from?
He was Bishop, the android in Aliens.
Oh, okay, cool.
He's also...
I don't know him, to be honest.
He's also the lead in Millennium, which is Chris Carter's other TV show.
Okay.
Initially, Gilligan considered Harvey Fierstein for the role of Modell, but Robert Wisden read the script and blew us away.
He was great.
Yeah, he was really good in this. I don't know who Harvey Fierstein is. That one didn't even ring a bell to me, so I didn't bother searching. Rob Bowman was pleased with Wisden's performance and said, I thought Robert Wisden was great as Pusher. He's a very energetic, kind of a confident actor with lots of ideas of his own. It took me about a day and a half to get into him, and then I never had to speak to him again because he had that look in his eyes. I would walk up to him to talk to him about the scene, and I could see that he was already there.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting.
Interesting. I've not seen him in anything else. I'm sure the X-ray thing on Amazon said that he was in Battlestar Galactica, I think, but I've never seen that anywhere.
No.
That's one that everyone says, oh, you'd love it, and I've never watched it.
No.
But
it's another long series I just don't need to get in. Maybe we'll do a podcast about it once we finish X-Files.
Maybe, yeah. We should just, once we finish X-Files, we'll need to just do like a fan vote. What shall we watch next?
Yeah. Just let's just see how long we can go.
What's the worst TV show somebody could suggest for us to watch?
Oh, the worst? I don't even know.
I don't know if it'd be something that's like excruciatingly long, like, I don't know, like Coronation Street every episode. Or if it would just be something that's like universally loathed.
Yeah.
But that would be short, I would imagine, if everyone thought it was rubbish.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't think of a terrible TV show, to be honest.
Yeah. I think the next show that we review should be short. Just so we could get it in and then maybe do another long one.
You know what, anyway. Though, saying that, I've listened to quite a few TV sort of review podcasts, not too dissimilar to what we do. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised, like, there's so many of them that go on to do something else and it doesn't really take. Yeah. Like, people aren't really that interested. And so they lose the followership, and they end up coming back
and just doing a re-watch.
Not doing a re-watch. Like, they'll do like a binge watch, or like look into the lore of something, or they'll just sort of like try and extend it in one way or the other because that's what the fans like. Like, it might not be the case all the times, but that tends to be it. Like, people are here for a particular reason. I don't know. True. Then again, saying that, I know for a fact that you listen to quite a few podcasts. Particularly just for the personalities.
True.
Because there's wrestling podcasts that you listen to, isn't there, where it's exclusively for the people in that podcast?
There's some times where I'm like, I have zero interest in this show.
What's going on apart from the people in it?
It's just funny.
But that's good. That I suppose that's where you want to be, really.
And they just to talk about that one. They've branched off to do Marvel reviews now, and they're just as good.
That's up my street. Yeah, I'd like to listen to those, but I can't afford the Patreon. Not for Marvel reviews. I can do that.
Those wedding dollars of they took a hammering.
I'm a very poor man.
So we're opening our Patreon. I did think the one, so like every podcast ever's open a Patreon. I was like, would that be an idea? And I was like, I can't be bothered. Like, no. It'll be so.
And you know what?
I feel like
I genuinely like not putting ourselves down. I would feel so bad if people paid us to do this, because I just don't think it's that sort of show.
No, I thought that as well. I feel like if I make somebody pay for something, It has to be. Then again, I did play in a punk band that weren't very good for me. Do you want to come to? Really? You want to come see us? Okay, fair enough. Anyway, I'm with some more production notes. We still have more. We've got 2 more.
Okay, very good.
And we still have the Zingrove, the celebrity cameo.
Yes.
And it's right at the end.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
Right at the end of this one.
It was Michael Caine, wasn't it?
It was Michael Caine, first acting role in 1996. You ever watch Zulu? Mitch Pileggi, famously Skinner,
yes,
you all know, was disappointed in the fact that the episode featured his character, Walter Skinner, getting beaten up. Something which had occurred in multiple episodes already by this point. I was feeling a little comfortable with him getting his ass kicked so much, and I think the fans were too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. He does get beaten up quite a lot.
Because he throws himself into fights, and you know what? It's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you keep getting back up.
Exactly.
And he gets up every time.
Exactly. I was going to make a Chumbawamba joke, but let's leave it there. So, the final production note. A celebrity cameo. Right, I'm going to give you a clue. It's a musician.
A musician, okay.
And it was their first acting role.
First acting role, so it's not going to be...
I've said he, so that's another clue.
Yeah, okay, so it's not going to be like... it's not going to be a pop star. It's not going to be like... I'm going to guess it's like a rock band. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's like a little game. Is it...
You haven't looked it up on it, have you?
No.
That's alright. Yeah.
No. Is it... Brian May?
No.
Am I close? You looked at me like I was close.
I just like that guess. I was like, Brian May, that's not a bad guess.
That's something else.
I don't know if it's close.
He seems like someone who would watch X-Files.
He's really into astronomy, isn't he? Like
Brian May?
Brian May.
Yeah. Well, he's just like a nerd, isn't he? Yeah, I'm not saying people who watch X-Files are nerds, but you know.
He seems... Slammed everyone who's listening.
But like, he seems like he would enjoy X-Files.
Yeah. Okay, no, not Brian May. We'll give you 2 more guesses.
Oh my
God.
God.
Is a musician. They're in a rock band.
What part? Do they sing or do they play instruments?
They have done both.
Done both?
Yeah, they've sung and played instruments. And sang and played instruments at the same time.
So a guitar player?
And more.
Keyboard? Well, this does not make for good podcasts. Just me silent.
I'll cut it.
It's a come for gold.
Yeah.
Play more.
I need a bed underneath it. Huh?
Keyboards?
No, not a keyboard. Well, no.
Drums?
Yes, they play drums.
Dave Grohl?
It was Dave Grohl.
It was
Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, the lead singer and guitarist of the Foo Fighters and former drummer of Nirvana, made a small cameo along with his then wife, Jennifer Youngblood, in the episode during the scene wherein Modell sneaks into the FBI building. Grohl, who had an active interest in the UFO lore, called the episode his acting debut.
Wow.
There you go.
Also, the only person I know who plays drums and sings.
That was an easy clue there. Yeah, he's I didn't notice it first time, and then I was doing the production notes, and I was like, "What? I didn't notice him at all." And it's 1996 Dave Grohl. You would not recognise him at all. Skinny, got a ponytail. He looks very different to what he looks like now.
Would Nirvana have still been going?
No.
Was Nirvana 80s?
I think Kurt Cobain shot himself in like 92, 93.
Was it like early 90s? Yeah. I can't remember. I don't know what...
So, are they still going? Probably not.
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember whether it was like early 90s or whether it was like sort of going into sort of mid 90s. I couldn't remember.
Foo Fighters put their first album out in 95.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it would have been Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Grohl.
Foo Fighters Grohl. Yeah.
Okay.
So, now on to our new part, the production notes. Did we match with the critics? So what did we say? We said... I might just take the part from the end of the episode.
Yeah, we said good.
So, yeah. Basically, we liked the episode.
I liked it, I'd say on... Oh, can you do like... You know, the Rotten Tomatoes? Can you do the Rotten Tomato scale?
I can't, no.
Not on this episode, but maybe in future episodes.
Maybe. Would it be on Rotten
Tomatoes? Or like
an
8, like a sort of percentage, because then I could say, I think I'm going to give this a 75%.
That's a good idea. We'll do it another time.
We'll do it for the next episode, or maybe the one after.
When I've written it down.
But yeah, I would give this an 8.
An 8.
8 out of 10, I'd say.
Okay, an 8 out of 10. That's quite a good...
That's a good score, yeah. That's a very good score.
So Pusher received overwhelmingly positive reviews from television critics.
Hey, we matched.
Since its airing, many reviewers list the episode as one of the best episodes of The X-Files. IGN named it the third best standalone episode.
No, really?
Yeah. I mean, that's excluding, like, the mythology.
Yeah,
one.
of course.
So standalone, third best.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was a great episode.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're pretty bang on with that one.
Well, I think with my score scale, whenever I score anything, I never give a 10 out of 10. I'll just let everyone know that now. 10 out of 10's off the table, because nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
You're never going to get a perfect episode of something. So, 9 out of 10, and you've really knocked it out of the park. So, 8 out of 10, very respectable score.
Good score.
What would you have given it? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I would have probably given it like an 8, something like that, yeah.
Well, I'd have given it an 8.1, so...
I would have given it an 8.2.
Well, I'd have given it an 8.3.
I would have given it a Viking in a...
A naked Viking.
Naked Viking out of 10. But that's all my production notes for this week.
Superb. Well, I think that's enough for this week. We've got an episode that I can't remember the title for, because I know it's a bunch of words I don't even recognise.
Yeah. Oh God!
I can't even bother to look.
It is Teso dos Bichos.
There we go. So we've got that to look forward to next week.
Yeah.
As always, get back in touch. We are on a normal schedule again now, so we will be back weekly. So if you want to get in touch with us, all the usual channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search for Most Unwanted Podcast and you'll find us. And you can also email us at mostunwantedpodcast@gmail.com. But apart from that, how should we leave? How should we go out?
Here comes the bride. It's Daniel Checkerley. He is a married man, so we will see you next week.
Perfect.